When J.J. Abrams was announced as the director of the new Star Wars film, a feeling of dread came over me more intensely than the time I forgot to pull out of your mum. The reason being I don't trust him to make an amazing Star Wars movie. His back catalogue isn't that impressive, ranging from a TV series that was promising for the first 2 seasons but completely imploded towards the end, a flawed E.T. tribute movie, this outrageous pile of shit and other mediocre yet inoffensive work telling me that with Abrams at the helm of Force Awakens will at best be inoffensive, which isn't what I want from this franchise. I don't want to walk away from a Star Wars movie saying the fabled words could have been better, could have been worse, which would be a fucking disaster considering all the build-up this movie has had. I confess I haven't seen The Force Awakens at the point of writing this paragraph, so right now I don't see why Abrams was chosen for this. Don't get me wrong, he'll probably make a decent Star Wars movie, but why settle for that when we could choose someone completely different who could make an epic and unforgettable one? Disney is going to make a ton of money off the Star Wars franchise regardless of who directs it. Over $100 million worth of pre-sale tickets purchased in America alone, for example. So why not think outside the box? There are recently graduated film students who would desecrate their immediate family to have this foundation to build on. Someone with hunger, passion, a fresh imagination and potential to make a great Star Wars film. It's not like that's never happened before. Or why not entrust a relatively unknown B-movie director who has made consistently good low-budget films showing us that he or she is capable of handling things on a much more epic scale. It's not like that's never happened before either. I want to be wrong about this. I'm hoping to leave The Force Awakens with more egg on my face than a freshly aborted fetus. I'm totally sure that's anatomically correct. Because I don't want to see something I love turn to complete shit. So naturally I approached my screening with the same amount of caution as a diabetic child should do when walking past an agoraphobic paedophile's house. So did my face remain egg-free? Well, sort of, more on that in a bit. 30 years after the Death Star had been destroyed, though never stated in the movie, I had to check it on the Wikipedia page, Luke Skywalker is missing. Both the Resistance, a military force supported by the Republic led by Luke's sister Leia Organa, and the First Order, the successor to the Galactic Empire, led by Darth Vader obsessive Kylo Ren, who will not stop until he has poked more holes in him than impatient gang rapists would to their victim, are searching all over the galaxy to find him. Resistance pilot Poe Dameron is sent to the remote planet Jakku by Leia to obtain a map containing information regarding Luke's whereabouts. Before this is done, Kylo Ren and the First Order show up with less welcome than a boner at an intensive care nursery, so before being captured, Poe places the map inside his trusted droid BB-8, who fucks off just in time to avoid being shot at more times than a hooker working a double shift. BB-8 eventually bumps into local scavenger Rey and on-the-run ex-stormtrooper Finn, who's wanted by the First Order for escaping with Poe, who's now missing from their crash landing, and thus begins their mission to get to the map to the Resistance base, meeting a few familiar and wrinkled faces along the way with the First Order not too far behind. Okay, let's get it out of the way. Is the movie good? Yes, it is. Is the movie great? No, it isn't. The problem is with the writing. It's lazy. J.J. Abrams has played it that safe due to his fear of upsetting the hardcore fanbase that he has mixed the plots from A New Hope and Return of the Jedi. Droid trusted with important piece of information regarding an old Jedi Master, travels across a desert and finds local that ends up being caught up in something bigger than themselves. Powerful enemy led by a masked villain is constructing a huge fuck-off weapon that's capable of destroying entire planets. Good guys have to disable the shields before any real attempt of destruction can be caused. There's someone cool in armor with potential to do something badass but ends up doing fuck all. Believe me, I want Gwendoline Christie to have more than a couple of minutes screen time in a major motion picture just as much as you do. And there's even a mysterious Sith Master who is draped in the words "Don't worry, this shit will be explained later." There's nothing wrong with Star Wars stealing from Star Wars, it's just that I feel like I've seen this movie before making it very predictable. And for the record, I predicted a major plot point months before the movie had been released. Of course it's not all bad. The new characters are awesome, and don't think for a fucking second that just because he is a pilot he is the new Han Solo. Just because she is a girl she is the new Princess Leia. Believe me, she isn't a princess and at no point needs rescuing. She's very independent and can handle her shit, and just because he is the only one left over means that by default he has to be the next Luke. It just so happens that the most relatable one of them all is John Boyega's Finn, a man who is fed up of his job and wants out. He has no intention of doing anything courageous, he just wants to get as far away from it all as possible, but because of fate and destiny ends up in a situation he doesn't want any part of. That's not to say that everyone else doesn't earn their salt. Daisy Ridley, Oscar Isaac, who owns every scene he is in, both do fantastic, and Harrison Ford reprising his role as Han Solo showed some amazing character development. He isn't the same Han we met in the original trilogy. He is wiser, more caring, and acts as the bridge between the old and new generation. Also, the chemistry between him and the newcomers is well balanced and at no point feels like an awkward passing of the torch. You may have noticed that I haven't discussed Adam Driver's Kylo Ren as much as I probably should have up until this point. The reason being is that without spoilers it's near fucking impossible. With the mask on, he is an interesting yet short-tempered villain who has so much screen presence I'm surprised the cameras themselves didn't drop to their fucking knees they don't have, awaiting his Sithy cock to embrace their lensy mouths. When the mask is taken off, all of that disappears. No real screen presence, no impactful dialogue, and most importantly, he loses his emotionless demeanour and appears to be more human, which isn't what I look for in a Sith. myth. If you've listened to any of my other work, you'll know that when I watch a slasher movie, I see the mask and the costume as its own entity, that there is no flesh and blood underneath the attire, just a seemingly unstoppable force, and it was the same with Kylo Ren. But when the mask was removed, so is his dignity. On its own, the film is adequate. The acting is solid, the battle scenes are fucking fantastic, effects delicious. I've seen the 2D and 3D version, and if you can, do watch the 3D version, but if you can't, it's okay, you'll appreciate what's in front of you. Old and new generations of Star Wars fans will love this movie because no one is being overshadowed or undermined. The nostalgia thirst is very much quenched. I can't go into detail without spoiling the fuck out of it, but there are Easter eggs everywhere. The score? Well, it's John Williams composing for a Star Wars movie, what the fuck did you expect? He creates a delicious cocktail of sound mixing familiar music with the original, and it tasted fucking lovely. The aerial combat is so mundane I couldn't even be fucked to do a fancy dogfight animation for it. The lightsaber duels are frankly shit considering the awesome spectacle we were given in episodes 1 and 3. Fuck episode 1, fuck episode 2, fuck episode 3, and fuck the king. Overall, this is the sequel you were looking for, but probably not the review you wanted. Nostalgia has been what's carried this movie through a field of positive reviews, and you should know by now that I'm not as forgiving as most critics are. It's inoffensively offensive, but for now, Star Wars is fine. A serviceable director was hired, a serviceable movie was made with a plot that's about as revitalizing as a picture of Padme Amidala's prepubescent period putty.